Hey, this is Curtis King Jr., and I'm on Jim on Bass.
Hey, it's Ryan from the Jim on Bass Show, and I want to give a huge shout out to my friends at Claim to Fame. They have some of the best jackets out there that I love to wear. You can rock them for date night, a casual outing with friends, or even while doing a podcast. They're lightweight, they're durable, and perfect for any setting. My favorites are the dark blue, the olive shade, and if you want to switch things up and go for a lighter color, one of my favorite go-tos is the Pacific blue. So check them out at claimtofame.com for all their different styles. The next time you step out, you'll be feeling good with Claim to Fame. Welcome back to another episode of the Jim on Bass Show. For today's very special guest, we have someone that has collaborated with many different artists like Madonna, James Brown, Bruce Springsteen, Michael Jackson, even Snoop Dogg. He also has some new music out that we will dive into. So please welcome the great Curtis King Jr. Curtis, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, this is an interesting view for me because I've seen you live in person and now I'm seeing you on the Zoom screen. So things are all working out for me.
Great. I'm glad. I'm glad I could be here. Thank you, Jim.
And curious, where are you at these days? Are you in New York or?
I'm in Florida, so that's home now. Originally from Tallahassee, Florida. In New York for the last many, many years, many moons in New York, and I decided to move the family back to Florida. So I'm down sort of in the Tampa area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know you have some new music out yourself, and it's kind of got like some salsa vibes and a very infusion kind of track, right?
Yeah, it covers a lot of genres. It's called Bossa Nova Noites Bahia Nights. It was actually the vision of Robert Hebert, a friend of mine, and he asked me to jump on board. And we got Naji, we've got Daryl Jones from Rolling Stones. We've got a lot of great Brazilian players. Oh, it's just this fusion of great musicianship and singing and what can I say? It really just it sounds great.
Yeah, it does sound great. I was telling you before we started, I was at the gym kind of grooving to it, so gets the hips moving.
You should have to move in.
Well, I know too, it's hitting the charts kind of all over the world, right? I saw it's hitting charts in Spain maybe and all over.
Yeah, I got it. I got actually Bahia Nights, the song that I'm actually singing is on the charts in Spain. It's been going up the charts very nicely, and in fact, Robert had said, "Man, I think this song is going to be really big," and he's really he's good at kind of predicting those things. So we're just in the process of really making this thing, just go everywhere and get into everybody's ears.
Well, speaking of music all over the world, you're probably maybe starting to get a little bit geared up for the UK tour with Bruce Springsteen, right, in the summer?
Yeah, we're going to start up again. Excited to do that again. I just love being out there, with all the guys and the gals. I think this is only a couple of months. This is sort of the end of what we were doing before. So, but just excited to be back out again with him.
Yeah, I'm getting excited too because it may or may not happen for me, but one of my guys at work were Bruce Springsteen fans, so we were like, we need to go overseas to see you guys. So we're talking about it. We'll see if it happens.
Well, it's funny, Jim. The best place to see us to me is overseas because the crowds are just so. Not that America's not enthusiastic, but these guys are just over the top enthusiastic, and they shake, they rock the entire stadium all the time.
Well, I watched what was it, the little documentary that came out a few months ago? Was it Road Diaries? That made me
Yes.
want to see you guys over there. It just really pumped me up.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a different experience, and I actually see a lot of guys from the U.S. Who follow us. It's almost they make their vacation, our schedule, and I see them everywhere, and they just said they love it. And I said, man, I love for the fact that you guys are coming.
Well, I don't know if do you know Carl Denson at all? Does that name ring a bell or?
Denson, not
He
off
has his
the.
own band called Carl Densey Tiny Universe. He played sax and flute for Lenny Kravitz. He's with the Rolling Stones now. And
Okay.
I had him on recently, and he talked about going overseas and getting to go see the sights and stuff. So, do you kind of lay low, or do you go out and do the tourist stuff when you're over there? Or?
Man, I hit the pavement as soon as we land. I get stuff to the hotel, make sure our bags are in, then just start tooling around, just seeing things. I just love getting out, and I'm a door man. I like taking pictures of doors because they don't have the doors here. They have there. They're all very unique and just like pieces of works of art to me.
Yeah.
I have gotta have doors from back from the '80s when I was traveling over there.
And like you said, like so much history. Some of those doors might be 200 years old or more, right? You never know.
Yeah, yeah. I may have a book of doors coming out.
Mm.
Look out.
Coffee table book.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that kind of made me wonder. I saw you this past March. I think it was right around Easter when you were in San Francisco, and
Ah,
just made me wonder, like, what do you guys do? Because you guys played two shows, but I think there was like maybe 3 nights off in between shows. Do you go to LA or do you just stay in town?
I stayed in town. I like San Francisco, and I don't really know anyone there, but I literally get out and just walk for
Mm.
days. I just walk around and I walk into neighborhoods because I like to just see, what's happening with the folks and, with the local folks, how they're living. And, I just love, finding little restaurants that are cool. And my traveling buddy out there is Charlie Giordano. So he hangs out with me a lot, and we just always just, what are you doing? I'm free. Go, let's go. We go out and just, just run around,
You never know what door you'll walk out through, you know?
or into.
Yeah. Well, are you kind of like a nocturnal person with touring, or because I feel like a lot of creative people and musicians seem to be nocturnal. Is that same for you, or?
I am, yeah. I don't get to sleep much. 4 hours is usually my time, and it's a good 4 hours. It's solid, and then after that I'm up. But so what I'll do is try to go to bed. I can't help but go to bed late because as you come off stage, you're still energized. So it takes a minute to really wind down. And once I do, I'm probably in bed by 2-ish, maybe 3-ish.
Mm.
But then I'm up early. I go to the gym. Hey, you coming? I'm always texting the guys. I'm already at the gym. About 7 o'clock, 6:37, because I like to get in early, knock that out, and then get out, hit the pavement, and get around.
Yeah, I was gonna ask because you're in such good shape, and I know Bruce is a big workout guy too, right? So, do you guys work out together, or how do you stay in shape? Is it hotel gyms? Do you have resistance bands? How do you do it?
Well, the hotel gyms, now, I mean, back in the day, I used to actually carry my equipment. I had a wheel, still have that wheel. Take it apart, put it in my suitcase. But I would find the YMCA back in the day.
Mm.
Now, all these hotels just have great gyms,
Yeah.
and Bruce does show up. I see him. We don't say, hey, we're going to meet, but I'll just happen to run into him when he's there, and he gets in there and does his business and gets out. Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys got a show to get a workout in too, huh? That's like a workout
Yeah.
itself.
I work out for the show so I can be ready for it's almost like I had to work myself up, gear myself back up to that level of being on stage for 3 hours,
Mm.
to be ready for it. Yeah, it really
Well,
did.
well, I know, we're kind of talking about the rehearsals starting up. So, is that kind of coming around, or how early do you start doing that before a tour starts?
Probably, God, half the time I don't know, but probably, I mean, as we have a show that's coming up, first of all, we don't do a lot of rehearsing. It's just very, just kind of loose. He trusts that we all know
Mm.
what we're doing when we walk in there, and we've already listened. We've already, we know we got a rehearsal coming, so just kind of turn everything back on again, and make sure you're ready for what we did before. And he can just pretty much call it up, and we're there.
Yeah, I figure you're kind of like in the middle of a tour break anyway, right? So you kind of
Yeah,
know how it's gonna go.
yeah, pretty well-oiled machine, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, it just made me wonder, like being in a spot like New Jersey, like, is there like a secret spot you guys rehearse at, or do the locals all kind of know and hang out there to see you guys, or?
Jim, it changes from time. It's like, it just when it comes, we know. It just changes from time to time. It never is the same place because otherwise, then not even the locals. I mean, the kids from overseas, they'll be there.
Wow.
They literally because they actually kind of time everything, and I don't know who gets the word out, how they know, and they actually find out where we are, and we're coming in, and they're there applauding as we're coming in. I said, how do they know we were going to be at this spot?
Yeah.
Somehow, I don't know. Somebody slipping word out the back door. I don't know.
Well, it did make me wonder since you're in Florida because you have the tour itself and you have rehearsals. How does that work for you? Do you get like an Airbnb or how do you handle all that?
Well, usually when the tour, as we have rehearsals coming up, they'll fly everybody in to be in a hotel, the same hotel, so that we all can kind of like, be ready to go when they say that we're going to rehearsal.
Mm.
Yeah, so it kind of that's what they, usually unless you say, hey, I'm going to stay here, but they got to know where you're going to be and make sure that you're going to be at, they don't want anybody, they don't want stragglers coming in. You
Yeah.
got to come in, be there on time.
Well, how does it work for you? Do you do your own hair, or do you get your own hair person? Because I was like, that's probably you got to manage that on the road, right?
Yeah, I got to man. Yeah, Jason. Jason is on the road with us, and he handles everything.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do got to ask, how did it start with you in the E Street Band? Like, how did you get the invite?
Wow. Good question. Great question. It's funny. My wife has said to me, "You need a rock and roll tour," and I'm going, "Who's going to take this old guy out on tour?" Because I'm thinking, I'm figuring my time is kind of past, but I get this call from Steve Jordan, drummer producer who was working with Patty, Bruce's wife, and at the time, and also at the time he was working with John Mayer. So I knew, I'm going like, okay, he's probably calling me for John Mayer. Great. Hey, what's up, Steve? Said, man, I got this gig that's come up, and Bruce Springsteen is looking for a backup singer, and I think you're the guy. And I'm going, okay. Not a bad call. So I go into the rehearsal. They actually rehearsing already, and I go in and Bruce says, "Hey, oh, you must be Curtis coming in." I go in and he says, "Hey, can you sing this?" Yeah, I can sing that. Can you sing this? Can you harmonize with me? Yeah, boom. And he said, "Okay, get on stage." I said, "I don't know your material, Bruce." He said, "Don't worry about it. You'll learn it." And that was the audition, and that was it. That was the call.
Wow,
Yeah, so I really thank Steve Jordan, for giving me that call, and it's been nearly 20 years of this,
that's
since the
crazy.
call.
Yeah, the great Steve Jordan. I've been wanting to get him on the shows. Great drummer. So
Great drummer,
underrated.
great guy. Oh, and producer.
It made me wonder, does Bruce ever kind of lean on you or say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or kind of when it comes to rehearsals or songs, anything like that?
More so like when we're coming up with parts, and he has ideas, and I'm always saying whatever it is, I'm going to certainly listen to everything you're bringing, Bruce. But if I have an idea, he's very open to listening to anything you have. But I'm always churning, and my wheels are always turning. When any songs are going on, I have thoughts of just how to maybe just bring this to life this way, or, not, or this way or that way.
Well, that makes me think too, because I'm always fascinated about the tour life. Because when I was 18, I won a contest off of MySpace, and my dad and I got to bring a friend with me, so I brought my dad, and we got to go on tour with Lenny Kravitz for two
Oh
weeks.
wow, cool.
Yes, so for me, it was a dream. He's always been my favorite guy. So I'm always kind of curious about certain tour questions that pop in my mind. So you guys are such a big group. So it made me wonder, are you kind of like, is there certain groups of the band that are always on the same plane or bus, or do you guys switch it up? How does that all work?
We're pretty much in a bubble, and we all go together everywhere, when we're traveling, I mean, of course, once we land, we all pair off into different cars, different groups for, if it's the horns and singers together, and the next group together. But we all are on the same plane,
Okay.
majority of the time. Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
do you feel like you get the best sleep when you're on the bus? Because I feel like I still had some of the best sleep with the road underneath me.
Well, it's funny, so we're not we don't bus much, as and I'm used to sleeping in the bunks on the bus,
Mm.
something, early on touring. And so now it's just a plane. So we just get in a plane. We may have a 20-minute flight up and then down. And I'm just falling asleep as we're about to land. So that happens a lot. I kind of miss, I'm not going to say this out loud, but I kind of miss the bus.
Don't worry, we won't tell anybody that part. But that's when you know you've made it, right? When you're taking 20-minute plane rides.
I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, I started out, God, Nona Hendrix years ago. I mean, what an incredible talent she is, and wonderful lady. But I started with her, and God, let me go back even more. But I started with her, and it was Nona Hendrix as a backup singer, and I was just we were like two to a room, in a motel. I was happy as could be, And I didn't know any better. I just felt like I'm great. I'm with Nona Hendrix. We're on tour. We're on a bus, and we didn't have bunks. We didn't have bunks then, you know. But I gotta give a big shout out to an incredible lady. Her name is Roberta Flack, who we
Oh,
lost today. Yeah,
yeah.
I work with her, and I mean, she really was my teacher in a
Wow.
lot of ways. And she was, I was talking with a good friend of mine, Dennis. We were talking. She would scold you, but she was, but she was giving you nothing but good lessons, nothing but a lot of love. And we lost her today. So, but she really, I mean, she taught me how to, as I call, fill the gap. So if you're singing and you hear a note missing, somebody's not there, you sing that note.
Mm,
Just if you hear anybody not there, you take the note, just sing it.
wow.
So a lot of that was part of my training too.
Well, rest in peace, Roberta Flack. I was watching
Yeah.
some of her older clips and just had such a beautiful tone, you know?
Yes, I mean, just so unique,
Yeah.
so unique.
Well, it did make me wonder when you're off tour, like now, do you ever get like a phone call, maybe from the boss, maybe from someone else, like, hey, can you do a private gig in 2 days from now? Do you kind of have to rearrange your plans last minute?
Well, I've gotten those calls. I mean, yeah, he will call and well, like if he's always working on something. So he's called during the break, not this particular break yet, but he's called over time this last year of us just getting together and working on, different records, different because he has so many ideas. So he's always just putting it down and recording it and say, hey, got something open. You guys come in on Wednesday, that kind of thing. So we'll just get there, do it, and it's always incredible stuff with him.
Yeah, is there ever like a pressure of, man, if you feel like you can't do it one time, like he'll stop calling or anything like that, or
That does enter my mind, but there's never ever, when I always get the email, and it's always from the tour manager, George Shivers, and he says, Curtis, what are you up to? And I could be, and actually, I was up to something one time. I was playing guitar and singing with this band, and I saw the email, and I said, I'm not doing anything. And I told the guys, look, I gotta go. Bruce just, I literally had to leave like the next week. So I
wow.
had to stop whatever. They had to find another guitar player singer to do the gig. Those are always my words. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I guess that's smart.
Right.
Well, I thought it was interesting. You've been in music, I mean, your whole life, right? I know your parents were music teachers, and um, it,
Yeah.
it took you till 2017 to get your first album, maybe Changing Face. Is that how long it
Yeah,
took?
changing pace. It's funny. I came to New York as a duo. Daryl took Curtis King. We were this duo, Daryl and Curtis, and I came up here to I came up to New York to be and we did a lot of clubs around New York, and that's how we got popular. People started knowing who we were.
Mm,
But I mean, we were in Tallahassee, Florida, my hometown, and we were there just gigging around, and people knew who we were, and we felt like we had kind of outgrown the place, And my mother and father, who my dad, believe it or not, used to hang and tour with Ray Charles and Harry Belafonte, and he was out there touring and doing his thing. And so when I told him that I wanted to do this, he was not happy, because he knows, the pitfalls and the ups and downs of trying to be this rock and roll, whatever we call ourselves, and making money. He just felt like I wasn't going to make a living this way. And I said, well, I promise you this, if I don't do it in 5 years, I'll come back home and be a teacher like you guys, because that's what they wanted me to be, a teacher. I said, I can't see my future. I just couldn't see my future as a
yeah.
teacher. Yeah.
Well, does that kind of maybe describe you? Like it took you a while to get your own album, because is that how you are as a person? You're always busy kind of supporting other people? Like
Yeah. I
is that
mean,
your personality?
when Bruce called, in fact, that was '06. Yeah, I was actually working, believe it or not, on the CD. I was working on the CD and he hit me in '06, and I'm going, okay, boom. I just dropped everything, and so, it just really became more and more on the back burner as I got out there and you meeting people. And even before that, I mean, I got on the road with Duran Duran back in the '80s, '87, doing Madonna. Before that, we did, like a version, this me and the Sims brothers, so I got so busy that, I mean, and I'll never forget Bernard Edwards of, Chic, Nile and Bernard of Chic, when he came in I was kind of like the new guy on the block, and I was coming in to do work on Nile's record, on his solo record. So Bernard showed up, and I blended well with everybody. Fonzie Thornton was there, still a good friend and singer that I work with, and he and Bernard heard me. He said, "Man," he took me aside. He said, "Man, I'm going to keep you busy."
Mm.
And I never forgot those words. And from that point on, I just got so busy, just like it just became a nonstop, train.
Well, it's funny you mentioned him because I just put out today. I don't know if you saw it. Their drummer Ralph Roll. I just put out an
I,
episode with him.
I did. I just looked. I said, "That's Ralph's a good friend." I know.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah,
great.
yeah. I've been knowing him for years.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a small world.
it is. It really is.
Well, it made me wonder, like you've had so many great people that you've worked with, but I mean, it's not always just going straight up. So have you had some downs when you felt maybe like giving up, or how was that initially?
It's funny. I never felt like giving up. That's because it's something that's been told to me, as they say, uh, don't give up till you give out.
Mm.
It's a workout thing, and as long as I've got something in me a little bit, then I'm not giving up, and I'm not giving out until I give out.
Mm.
So I mean, there've been in our business the ups and the downs. I mean, I did a lot of jingles over the years, and that was high for a long time. I mean, we were running, the jingles were just like coming, the money was coming, and then all of a sudden it just started, going away. But thank God I still had touring, I had records. In fact, I'm the Popeyes guy out there now. Love that chicken at Popeyes. Still,
Oh, okay.
yes. I did that in my closet, 2020. So that's out.
Well, yeah, do I have to pay you for that one? Do you get a royalty for that, or?
Yeah, get paid. Yeah. So no, that's the only one I got out now.
Okay.
But it's still, I'm grateful. Still, still in it. Still in it. I'd rather dig a ditch than get a job
Mm.
because I love what I do. This is just like there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
It is the people that I've worked with over the years. Made friendships, and it's just making music together. It's just so healing and just uplifting to me.
Well, it makes me wonder, you like you said, you kind of came out more as a duo. How do you kind of enter the now you're a background singer? Like, were you not wanting that at first, or how did that kind of happen?
Well, and here, all right. So a prominent singer at the time, Yvonne Lewis, great friend of Luther Vandross, had heard us. We heard Daryl and I. We were doing a record, I think, working on a record, and she loved the way we were sounding. So she said, Roberta Flack is looking for background singers, and I think you guys would be perfect. So that was my introduction because I'd never been a backup singer. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
So I learned all of her music, and we actually learned the music. Took a bus to DC. She walks up and says, "Hi, I'm Roberta Flack. Hi, I'm Curtis King." And that's how, yeah, I'd never worked with her until that moment and walked on stage.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a beginning for me. And as I went on with it, I mean, my first flight was to Greece. I'd never been on a plane, so now we're flying to Greece, in Bogota, Colombia. We're all over the map, and I said, "This is not a bad job, not a bad gig."
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you're speaking a little bit about people you've worked with. What was it like working with David Bowie? Because again, like I told, I'm a big Lenny fan, and he had Gail Ann Dorsey as his bassist for a minute there. So I'm sure you
Yeah,
guys know each other.
yeah. David was a sweetheart of a man to work with, work for. We did Blue Jeans. We did that record,
Mm.
and we were in Canada. I remember that. I was with Carlos Alomar, fun guy, guitar player, Bowie. And so we'd work, we'd be in the studio all day. And then I remember at 8 o'clock, we stop our production, time for dinner, and that he did that every night. He was always very like, like clockwork, boom, stop, we're going to dinner and have a beautiful setup, for us all. But I mean, just really a nice guy to work with, work for. He would just, he let you be you.
Mm.
And that's the thing I loved about him. He just let you be you, because he wanted your input. I mean, he's David Bowie, but he also knows that you are also, who you are, and you didn't get here, just you didn't trip here. You got here because, of something you're bringing. So he was always open to listening to you.
Well, just certain things you're saying are kind of bringing me back to last night. I went to the movies late and I saw the documentary that's out on Led Zeppelin, kind of them becoming a
Oh,
band.
wow.
Yeah, it's really good. And there's a clip of James Brown in there, And just curious, what was it like working with him? He seems like he could be maybe a little intense.
Not gonna say much, but yes, no, great guy, James Brown. We and that was in Italy with Pavarotti, believe it or not. Yeah, it was a great concert. You know, always I did that I think for 5 years, and I mean he was just a commanding sort of guy. You know, he knew what he wanted, and of course I'm giving it whatever you want. I'm there. But yeah, it really, and he was intense, but not intimidating, I should say. You know, because I grew up with James Brown. My mother, believe it or not, played, I mean, she's a musician, pianist, and violin. And her best friend was the MD for James Brown.
Wow.
In 1968, they come to Tallahassee, Florida. My mother's best friend calls her, says, we need an extra violinist. And so she gets to gig with him, and she won't let me go to the gig because I think it was in eighth grade then. She said, no, I don't want you around James Brown. So I didn't get to see, it was James, yeah, I didn't get to see, I think the Temptations, all of those great people came through. Yeah. So
Well,
that was my other James Brown experience
yeah,
prior to me.
you didn't get to see the show. You got to be in the show later on.
Right, thank you. Yeah. Same thing with believe it or not, with Isaac Hayes.
Wow.
Isaac Hayes came through Tallahassee, and at the time I was one of the top horn players, French horn players in town, in school. So I got hired to do the gig with him. And then at the last minute it got canceled. So then I think, 20 years later or so, I think I'm at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there's Isaac Hayes, and I had to give him my story.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so it was really, great to come full circle and be with him. Yeah.
Well, I do got to ask about Snoop Dogg. That must have been I don't know how much you've worked together. It must have been a fun experience.
Well, it's funny. That was David Letterman's show,
Hmm.
and they wanted us. This is funny. It's too funny. My son. So at the time, I think he might have been 12 or 13. My son's, oh, he's about 6'4" now, but at the time, at 12, he was like 6 feet. So Snoop Dogg, of course, he wants his backup singers to kind of like have the look, yo, yo, what's up? And I'm like, where can I get those clothes? My son, my son had, everything that was Snoop Dogg and, Biggie Smalls and all that. So I said, Kurt, I need to kind of borrow your outfit from you, the whole baggy look, and but let me get back to Snoop. Really, he was like one of the nicest guys. I mean, he's a rapper, but he's such a gentleman.
Mm.
Just this, really nice guy. I was like surprised. So, none of, I guess, what the typical, what you think a rapper may be, but he was just like a regular cat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of went over just some of the people you've performed with, but it made me wonder, is there anyone that sticks out that's maybe the most surprising collaboration, like you would never thought would happen?
Steely Dan.
Okay.
Yeah. Steely Dan. I got asked to, I was hanging out with the band, and one of the singers, because he uses only female singers,
Mm.
and my wife at the time, Brenda White King, was there, and the other singer, Catherine Russell, she had to go to work with Cyndi Lauper. She had 2 weeks, so there was 2 or 3 weeks left in the Steely Dan gig, and I'm just hanging around because I had done a Kamakuri with Donald Fagen, so they knew from just from the record and just hanging around. So with Catherine leaving, they said, Curtis, would you mind singing with us for the rest of the tour? I said, oh my God, I was just elated. So what surprised me was that I had to do the rehearsal, and so I'm sitting with Donald and the other singers, and he's playing all these intricate chords that you don't hear, when the band is playing. It really gets buried. So I said, Donald, is that what you actually play when you're doing the gig? He said, yeah, I do this all the time. I said, man, I never hear that. It's so beautiful. I mean, it's just so wonderful what he plays, but it just gets buried. It's great stuff. The band is playing great stuff anyway, but just him alone is just incredible. Yeah, so that was a big surprise for me.
So, does that mean you were touring with your wife?
Yes, I
That's
was.
convenient.
Yeah, it was, and we had actually toured. We toured with who was it back then? Not Serge. Serge. Well, I worked with Serge Gainsbourg in France, but worked with, who do we work with? Claude Nougaro. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
a jazz singer over there in France, and we toured with him then. Yeah, so it's been fun. It's fun. It's fun sometimes and fun not all the time.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we're talking about all the shows you've done. One thing I ask everyone I have on, regardless of what they do, since I'm a big music fan, I'm always curious, who was your very first concert?
My very first concert, believe it or not, was Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Wow,
I
setting the
was,
bar high.
yeah, I was. I mean, it's funny. Let me tie also into that my partner Daryl and I have been asked to come to the show because they've been hearing about us, and somebody had, like, I think, took a tape to them or something,
Mm.
and I said we want to hear these guys, we want to meet these guys. So that was my first show, and we drove from Tallahassee to Jacksonville, Florida. I remember that, and I saw this incredible show. I mean, I just, I'd never been to a live concert
Mm.
on that level, and I was just blown away. Then I get to meet the guys, and it was like meeting God. Those guys are just amazing to me. So yeah, it was just probably one of the best experiences for a young guy starting out.
I saw them maybe like almost 10 years ago now, and Chic was opening up, and it was awesome. It was a good 1-2 punch.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see them from time to time, so it's really, we're friends, so I see them from time to time. It's always good to see them.
Well, you mentioned playing the French horn. That's something you specialize in, right? And you got a BA in music.
Yeah, I started out on trumpet, and something told me that I probably wasn't that good. I don't know why, but because I heard other guys around me, and they were really playing circles around me. So I would listen to the rest of the band. I hear the French horn section. They were having trouble. So, so over the summer, I literally over the summer, I went home, and my dad, he was always bringing. He was at a university, a FAM university, so he was always bringing instruments home.
Mm.
She brought a French horn home, and I just said, I'm gonna start learning that instrument. So at the end of the summer, I got back to school for the seventh grade year, and I really had become a better horn player than a trumpet player.
Mm.
So I stuck to that, and that became my instrument. And I got a scholarship. I had 5 scholarships, and I got one to St. Leo University. Yeah, which is down around Tampa here, and that became my school of choice.
Well, we've been talking all about music, but what other hobbies do you have? Are you into sports? Like, what else do you like?
I'm into sports. I still play basketball like a knucklehead. I get out there. I love to get out because they'll see the old man coming on the court. Who's going to check the old man? I said, great. I'm glad somebody said that. And then I get out there, and and I usually stay on the perimeter. I shoot a lot of threes. I don't go inside because they usually bust you up.
Yeah.
So I have to stay outside. And then the next thing you know, somebody else is switching off on me because the guy who said I can check him, because he's not that good, they realize I'm better than I look. So, and then I do a lot of weight training. What else? I jump rope a lot. Jumping rope is like, I met this guy, he's no longer with us, but he was 80 back then, and he was jumping rope. And I was playing basketball in the gym, and I'm going like, this guy, all he does is jump rope. And his body was he was cut. His arms were cut. I said, man, he says, I do this every day, every day. So I started jumping rope, and I realized it was making such a difference, to just how my body was. So
Hmm.
that's become a very integral part of what I do every day. Yeah,
Nice. Well, you're not an actor, right? Because I was also doing my research, and there's a Curtis King Jr. who's been in some movies. I was like, that's not you, though, right?
that's me. Just I'm not an actor, but when I'm called, I'll be there.
Oh, so it is you. That's
Yeah, it is me. I've been in a few movies. Not on any, I'm not the guy you're going to be looking for, the romantic lead or anything. I'm not him. Let's see. Also, I've sung, Anastasia, that animated movie. I sung in that. I sung
ah.
in the movie.
I was saying, man, you do it all.
But I've been blessed. I've been so blessed. I tell you, to just to be able to get around and do the thing. I mean, I ran into Wesley Snipes when I was going out for commercials way back in the '80s. He was, we were like competing, for commercials and stuff, and he invited me out to he was doing a lot of Broadway. So he invited me out to watch his Broadway shows back then. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I met a lot of great people along the way. It's amazing.
And like you probably agree, it's just when you're doing all that stuff, I think good things happen when you're just a cool person, right?
I'm a blessed, cool person. I just try to be on time, make sure I'm on pitch, and make sure I'm doing all that I'm being asked of, because that way it carries over to the next gig. That's all. My
Yep.
dad always say, always just go in there and make sure you're doing your best because people are going to remember that,
Mm.
and opportunities are far and few between. So you want to make sure when you're in there, you've done the best job, you know, and then that way, hopefully someone's calling for the next one.
Well, that makes me think really quick. Like, are there some performers or acts that you've been a part of that are kind of loose, and then are there maybe some that are like very you can't be a minute late type thing, or
Let's see, I'd have to say most are it's a timely thing. And I guess that comes from me from doing a lot of jingle work.
mm.
And I have to go back to my lawyer, Andrew Muse, who he wanted us to come to his meeting. There was a meeting with him he said, be there at 10:57. So what happens? I'm 20 years old. I get there by 11:05. So, shut the door, come in, have a seat. He says, so remember when I asked you to be here at 10:57? I said, yeah, yeah. He said, well, what time did you get here? I said, 11:05. He says, time is money and money is time. He said, so don't ever be late. So I learned that right away and boom, never again.
Well, I had some final questions here. I was curious because you were on the High Hopes album with Bruce, right?
Yeah,
Was that the first album that you were a part of with Bruce, or?
that was, yes, the first actual recording with him. Yeah, and we were in Australia, I believe.
Mm.
We were out on the road. That's the other exciting thing about it is that we were on the road and we were going to do a record while we were while we were on stage, coming on stage, go to the studio, all that stuff. It's just really great. That was my first, yeah, actual recording with him.
Yeah, that was a kind of an underrated album for me because I remember he finally recorded American Skin, the 41 shots. That was always such a good live song, and I was like, why doesn't he put this on album? And he finally did it on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very emotional song for me. It really, and a great song, just a great song. It's funny you say that. I wondered why he had not done that long ago. You're right. You're right. But I don't know something. He's a very unique guy in how he works and thinks, and I just watch him. Actually I'm an audience member on stage. I have to call that. I watch this show and I'm in it, and it just amazes me every night. Yeah,
Well, it's funny you said Australia because I think I have a vague memory of I think you guys did Highway to Hell version when you're in Australia live,
yeah.
and that made the rounds online.
Yeah, we were doing like wherever we were and whatever was I think either the big group or the big hit of that country or that town, we were doing it. And it was it went over so big. The crowd went wild when we did it.
That's cool. Yeah, because
Yeah,
I think Tom Morello was in the band at the time, right? Like he's
he
one of my
was.
favorites. I had him on a couple months ago. He was great.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy and an amazing player, and just yeah, he was with us on I think most of that tour.
Mm.
Yeah, he came
Well,
on board and then he was on. Yeah.
well, I got to say it's been great to have you on the show, and it's been fun to get to know you a little bit. But sometimes I ask, what else is going on in your world? What's on the agenda for today?
Today, let's see. I finished working out. I got up around 7, 8, 8:30. Got in the gym. Did that. Walked the dog. I'm gonna make some. I've been doing Brussels sprouts for the last month. Really killing. Brussels sprouts, black rice,
Mm.
onions, and sweet potatoes. This is what I like being the chef at home. I just cook all kinds of dishes, all the time. My daughter says, Dad, you don't need to spoil us with too much. You've already got that over there, but I just like to I just like to have things going all the time. So I'm kind of either I'm in the garden or I'm on the
Mm.
stove. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, how old are your kids then? Are they younger or?
Well, I have a blended family now.
Mm.
So my oldest and my wife's oldest is 37, 22 and 18. No, 22 and 21, 27 and 18. Yeah.
So you got a busy year with birthdays and everything.
Oh, all the time. It's never ending. It's never ending. Yeah.
Well, I'll let you get to it. Thanks for coming on the show, and I'll keep you updated if me and my buddy make it out to a show in the UK to see you guys do your thing.
Please do. Yeah, I'd love to see you. They say real life. What is it called? IRL in
Oh, yeah,
real
in
life.
real, in real life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Awesome.
learning
Yeah,
things.
that's always good to have someone on and then meet him. It's very full circle. So,
Yeah. I'd love to meet you for real. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah,
All right, Curtis. Thanks for coming on, and I'll see you down the road.
definitely. Okay. Take care.